And welcome back, once again, to Behind the Screams, Volume 6. We are working our way through the H.P. Lovecraft story, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. We are beginning Part 3. We have already gotten through Parts 1 and Part 2. Now we're starting Part 3, Chapters 4 and 5. I think I may have misjudged the length of Part 3. It's far too long. But it was difficult to find the right area to separate the story. Part 1 was Chapters 1 and 2. Part 2 was Chapter 3. Now Part 3 is Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. And I think I've bitten off more than I can chew with Chapter 3. I have to make it work now. We're going to continue with the beginning of Chapter 4. I just recorded a few lines before I set up this. And as you can probably see or hear, that I am still down with the dreaded hay fever. But no rest for the wicked. Let's continue. And welcome to the cabin. Later in May came a momentary revival of ritualistic sounds in the attic laboratory, which brought a stern reproof from Mr. Ward and a somewhat distracted promise of amendment from Charles. It occurred one morning, and seemed to form a resumption of the imaginary conversation noted on that turbulent Good Friday. The youth was arguing or remonstrating hotly with himself, for there suddenly burst forth a perfectly distinguishable series of clashing shouts, in differentiated tones like alternate demands and denials, which caused Mrs. Ward to run upstairs and listen at the door. She could hear no more than a fragment, whose only plain words were, "Must have it read for 3 months." And upon her knocking, all sound ceased at once. When Charles was later questioned by his father, he said that there were certain conflicts of spheres of consciousness, which only great skill could avoid, but which he would try to transfer to other realms. About the middle of June, a queer nocturnal incident occurred. In the early evening there had been some noise and thumping in the laboratory upstairs, and Mr. Ward was on the point of investigating when it suddenly quieted down. That midnight, after the family had retired, the butler was night-locking the front door when, according to his statement, Charles appeared somewhat blunderingly and uncertainly at the foot of the stairs with a large suitcase and made signs that he wished egress. The youth spoke no word, but the worthy Yorkshireman caught one sight of his fevered eyes and trembled causelessly. He opened the door and young Ward went out, but in the morning he presented his resignation to Mrs. Ward. There was, he said, something unholy in the glance Charles had fixed on him. It was no way for a young gentleman to look at an honest person, and he could not possibly stay another night. Mrs. Ward allowed the man to depart, but she did not value his statement highly. To fancy Charles in a savage state that night was quite ridiculous, for as long as she had remained awake, she had heard faint sounds from the laboratory above, sounds as if of sobbing and pacing, and of a sighing which told only of despair's profoundest depths. Mrs. Ward had grown used to listening for sounds in the night, for the mystery of her son was fast driving all else from her mind. The next evening, much as on another evening nearly 3 months before, Charles Ward seized the newspaper very early and accidentally lost the main section. This matter was not recalled till later, when Dr. Willett began checking up loose ends and searching out missing links here and there. In the journal office, he found the section which Charles had lost, and marked 2 items as of possible significance. They were as follows: more cemetery delving. It was this morning discovered by Robert Hart, night watchman at the North Burial Ground, that ghouls were again at work in the ancient portion of the cemetery. The grave of Ezra Whedon, who was born in 1740 and died in 1824, according to his uprooted and savagely splintered slate headstone, was found excavated and rifled, the work being evidently done with a spade stolen from an adjacent tool shed. Whatever the contents may have been, after more than a century of burial, all was gone except a few slivers of decayed wood. There were no wheel tracks, but the police have measured a single set of footprints, which they found in the vicinity, and which indicate the boots of a man of refinement. Hart is inclined to link this incident with the digging discovered last March, when a party in a motor truck were frightened away after making a deep excavation. But Sergeant Riley of the 2nd Station discounts this theory and points to vital differences in the 2 cases. In March, the digging had been in a spot where no grave was known, but this time a well-marked and cared-for grave had been rifled with every evidence of deliberate purpose and with a conscious malignity expressed in the splintering of the slab which had been intact up to the day before. Members of the Whedon family, notified of the happening, expressed their astonishment and regret, and were wholly unable to think of any enemy who would care to violate the grave of their ancestor. Hazard Whedon of 598 Angel Street recalls a family legend according to which Ezra Whedon was involved in some very peculiar circumstances, not dishonourable to himself, shortly before the Revolution, but of any modern feud or mystery he is frankly ignorant. Inspector Cunningham has been assigned to the case, and hopes to uncover some valuable clues in the near future. Dogs noisy in Pawtuxet residence of Pawtuxet were aroused about 3 a.m. today by a phenomenal baying of dogs. Cue the dogs. Which seemed to centre near the river just north of Rhodes on the Pawtuxet. The volume and quality of the howling were unusually odd, according to most who heard it, and Fred Lemden, night watchman at Rhodes, declares it was mixed with something very like the shrieks of a man in mortal terror and agony. A sharp and very brief thunderstorm, cue the thunderstorm, which seemed to strike somewhere near the bank of the river, put an end to the disturbance. Strange and unpleasant odours, probably from the oil tanks along the bay, are popularly linked with this incident, and may have had their share in exciting the dogs. There's no break here in the... Bear with me. Because of my auto cue here, it's just a plain continuation because I copied and pasted from the rich text format. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. Yeah, just give me a second. I need to check that. You see, I keep making the same mistakes. I learn from some of my mistakes, and other mistakes, they remain as mistakes. So I said rich text. I meant plain text. I'm going to go to the original Gutenberg text. The aspect of Charles now became very haggard. I'm assuming that this is continuing with the story and the newspaper article has just passed, has finished. Sorry. Yes. Suspicions confirmed. Okay, so what I'll do with that newspaper article where I rose my voice or put more emphasis in tone, whatever you want to call it, in the final product, in the final narration, that will be, I'm going to put a slight, what do you call it? Like a, not an echo, but like a reverb. Let me just check that. Yeah, reverb. You know, like I'm speaking in an empty hall or something. Many times that's referred to as an echo, but technically it's not true, is it? An echo is when it's echo, 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 echo. It's not that I'm speaking about. I'm like a reverb. Reverb. So I will do that on GarageBand. That section I read with the newspaper, I will drag that onto a separate track and switch on the reverb for that specific track. Okay. Let's continue. The aspect of Charles now became very haggard and hunted, and all agree in retrospect that he may have wished at this period to make some statement or confession from which sheer terror withheld him. The morbid listening of his mother in the night brought out the fact that he made frequent sallies abroad under cover of darkness, and most of the more academic alienists unite at present in charging him with the revolting cases of vampirism, which the press so sensationally reported about this time, but which have not yet been definitely traced to any known perpetrator. Just thought I forgot to press record. This has happened to me several times. These cases, too recent and celebrated to need detailed mention, involve victims of every age and type and seem to cluster around two distinct localities, the Residential Hill and the North End, near the Ward home, and the suburban districts across the Cranston line near Pawtuxet. Just give me a second. Need to check something. Okay, so Pawtuxet does exist. Oh, it looks beautiful. Pawtuxet Village is a section of the New England cities of Warwick and Cranston, Rhode Island, United States. It looks fab. Waterside location. It looks very nice. Pawtuxet means Little Falls in the native language. We learn something new every day. Will I remember that? Maybe not. Will I remember the fact that it is a real location? It actually exists? Yes. I have to go back here now. Sorry. These cases, too recent and celebrated to need detailed mention, involved victims of every age and type, and seemed to cluster around two distinct localities, the Residential Hill and the North End, near the Ward home, and the suburban districts across the Cranston line near Pawtuxet. I've already read this. Both late wayfarers and sleepers with open windows were attacked, and those who lived to tell the tale spoke unanimously of a lean, lithe, leaping monster, with burning eyes which fastened its teeth in the throat or upper arm and feasted ravenously. Okay, there's something here now I don't understand. Sorry, this must be riveting for the viewer, this experience, but this is just how it is, really, in my case. I need to second I need to check everything twice. I go a lot of back and forth between the auto cue, the teleprompter, and the original text. There's something. Sorry, I should let you in on what's happening. I have in brackets here, illustration, colon, inverted commas, these cases of vampirism involved victims of every age and type. Now, I don't know if that's part of the original text. It's as if there was an illustration there, and the title of the illustration was the following. I'm going to leave it out. I made the call. That's it. That might, because this was originally published in Weird Tales in 1941, posthumously, unfortunately. And in that section of the story, there might have been an illustration. I'm not sure. That's what I'm guessing. Dr. Willett, who refuses to date the madness of Charles Ward as far back as even this, is cautious in attempting to explain these horrors. He has, he declares, certain theories of his own, and limits his positive statements to a peculiar kind of negation. I will not, he says, state who or what I believe perpetrated these attacks and murders, but I will declare that Charles Ward was innocent of them. I have reason to be sure he was ignorant of the taste of blood, as indeed his continued anemic decline and increasing pallor prove better than any verbal argument. Sorry, I need to check the original text again. Okay. Ward meddled with terrible things, but he has paid for it, and he was never a monster or a villain. As for now, I don't like to think. A change came, and I'm content to believe that the old Charles Ward died with it. His soul did, anyhow, for that mad flesh that vanished from Waite's Hospital had another. What's that? Don't understand that. Willett speaks with authority, for he was often at the Ward home attending Mrs. Ward, whose nerves had begun to snap under the strain. Her nocturnal listenings had bred some morbid hallucinations, which she confided to the doctor with hesitancy, and which he ridiculed in talking to her, although they made him ponder deeply when alone. These delusions always concerned the faint sounds which she fancied she heard in the attic laboratory and bedroom, and emphasized the occurrence of muffled sighs and sobbings at the most impossible times. Pause. Early in July, Willett ordered Mrs. Ward to Atlantic City for an indefinite recuperative sojourn, and cautioned both Mr. Ward and the haggard and elusive Charles to write her only cheering letters. It is probably to this enforced and reluctant escape that she owes her life and continued sanity. And there we have a break, and I'm going to take a break too. We'll catch up soon. Until then, sayonara. Welcome back to the next, what do you call this? Behind the scenes footage. We have our own term, which is behind the screens footage. We're continuing with part 3, chapter 4, where we left off. Yeah. I know what you're thinking. Allergy. Doesn't sound great. I agree, but you know what? Have to continue with this. In a perfect world, I would not have the hay fever. But everybody knows it's not a perfect world. Could be worse. Now, let's crack on. Oh, my nose is so itchy right now. The beauty of narration is that you can scratch your nose and nobody will know. Except if you're doing a behind the scenes vlog like I'm doing now. Okay. I'm going to read some more, okay? Not too long because I'm feeling under the weather. I wonder, is our editor-in-chief in the premises? I'll just check if he's in the building. Bear with me. Finney. Some of you have met him. Maybe some of you have not met him. But he's our editor-in-chief and he works best under pressure. And maybe I can get him on camera and just you can say hi. Just give me a second. Yes, here comes our editor-in-chief, Finney. Say hi, Finney. Finney had a haircut and he is getting quite hot now here in Spain, in Toledo, where I live, in the center of Spain. This is the hot season. It's beginning now. The last few days have really, we're in Fahrenheit, I don't know, in degrees, 34, 35 degrees Celsius. So Finney does best when he has a haircut. Now, you might be wondering what happened to his leg. We were out for a walk this morning and you see how he stopped when he heard the word walk. That's the magic word. Even if I spell it now, he's really clever. And if I'm speaking with someone about, I have to do this, because now he can spell the word, and if I mention the word, you saw how he reacted. He thinks he's going somewhere. If I spell the word now, he also knows what we're talking about. Really clever dog. I don't think he can spell much more. Then again, he needs to spell because he's our editor-in-chief. I forgot that, yeah. I nearly let the cat out of the bag there. Okay, anyway, he cut himself this morning. That's what I want to say. It's a small nick, but we were out walking and he cut his leg. Well, it's just here, under his pad. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. All right, Finney? Say bye-bye to everybody, whoever's watching this. Okay. Now let's continue with this premium narration. He says with a slight hint of sarcasm. Sorry, I can't remember where I was. Oh yeah, we didn't even start. Did we? Am I even recording this? What's going on? What's happening? Okay, so I am recording on camera and I am recording on, and I can get rid of that. Just give me a second. Okay, we're going to take it up from here. Okay, let's chit chat now. Let's get on with this. You've probably become aware by now that these narrations, behind the scenes narrations, these vlogs, installments, whatever you call them, it's more about me spouting gibberish and pointless anecdotes and allergy complaining rather than actual narration. But you know, it is what it is. Let's continue. I'm not too happy with my setup. I have my microphone stand, and I have everything kind of off the side of the table. It's a round table, and I'm not too happy with the setup. I might have a look at changing my microphone stand, because maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe there's no option. I don't know. I prefer to be facing forwards, but I'm always facing to the side because of the stand. My stand doesn't reach. Might invest in a longer stand. That might be the answer. It's not, it doesn't really matter really, but it's just I would like to put my left arm somewhere. Did I really just say that? Not long after his mother's departure, Charles Ward began negotiating for the Pawtuxet bungalow. It was a squalid little wooden edifice with a concrete garage, perched high on the sparsely settled bank of the river, slightly above Rhodes. But for some odd reason, the youth would have nothing else. He gave the real estate agencies no peace till one of them secured it for him, and at an exorbitant price from a somewhat reluctant owner. And as soon as it was vacant, he took possession under cover of darkness, transporting in a great closed van the entire contents of his attic laboratory, including the books both weird and modern which he had borrowed from his study. He had this van loaded in the black small hours. I'm just going to stop there. This word weird fiction. I never got that. Has it officially been declared weird fiction? Weird for who exactly? Is that a category of fiction? I never understood that expression. Yes, I get the word weird, and I understand that there are weird, for me, weird is something out of the ordinary. But I don't see this as weird fiction. I just see it as maybe horror fiction or anything that falls into that category of horror. Maybe a pinch of science fiction, but weird fiction. I think a lot of fiction is weird, and it doesn't have to be. It can be, drama, comedy. But weird fiction for the sake of being weird fiction, I don't get it. I know it's a thing, and it has become a genre of fiction, a branch of horror, perhaps. Maybe cosmic horror falls into weird fiction, but I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I don't see anything weird about it. Okay, rant over. Where were we? Oh, yeah. He had this van loaded in the black small hours, and his father recalls only a drowsy realization of stifled oaths and stamping feet on the night the goods were taken away. After that, Charles moved back to his own old quarters on the third floor and never haunted the attic again. Welcome back to the next installment of Behind the Screams. We are continuing our story with the H.P. Lovecraft tale. It's a novel, his only novel. A short novel, but it's one of the longest works we've done, apart from Dracula and maybe one or two others. We've done a few longer H.P. Lovecraft stories. The Shadow over Innsmouth we've done. We have done At the Mountains of Madness. We have done the Dunwich Horror. Now we're going to get on with this. Sorry about the abrupt ending to the previous Behind the Screams video, because my battery went on my MacBook. That was the reason. Okay. So we're going to continue now, folks, with the next part. We are still on chapter 4. Is it chapter 4? Yes, it's chapter 4, and we are maybe more than 2/3 of the way through, and we're going to spend a few more minutes at this now. Not too long, because it is absolutely stifling right now in here. Sauna. All I'm missing is one of those, you know, those buckets. Is it with ice or something? And it's hot, is what I'm trying to say. And away we go. They would have given much for a glimpse of the papers Charles had found, for very clearly the key to the youth's madness lay in what he had learned of the ancient wizard and his doings. And yet, after all, it was from no step of Mr. Ward's or Dr. Willett's that the next move in this singular case proceeded. The father and the physician, rebuffed and confused by a shadow too shapeless and intangible to combat, had rested uneasily on their oars, while the typed notes of young Ward to his parents grew fewer and fewer. Then came the first of the month, with its customary financial adjustments, and the clerks at certain banks began a peculiar shaking of heads and telephoning from one to the other. Officials who knew Charles Ward by sight went down to the bungalow to ask why every check of his appearing at this juncture was a clumsy forgery, and were reassured less than they ought to have been when the youth hoarsely explained that his hand had lately been so much affected by nervous shock as to make normal writing impossible. He could, he said, form no written characters at all except with great difficulty, and could prove it by the fact that he had been forced to type all his recent letters, even those to his father and mother, who would bear out the assertion. What made the investigators pause in confusion was not this circumstance alone, for that was nothing unprecedented or fundamentally suspicious, nor even the Pawtuxet gossip, of which one or two of them had caught echoes. It was a muddled discourse of the young man with which nonplussed them, implying as it did a virtually total loss of memory concerning important monetary matters, which he had had at his fingertips only a month or two before. Something was wrong, for despite the apparent coherence and rationality of his speech, there could be no normal reason for this ill-concealed blankness on vital points. Moreover, although none of these men knew Ward well, they could not help observing the change in his language and manner. They had heard he was an antiquarian, but even the most hopeless antiquarians do not make daily use of obsolete phraseology and gestures. Altogether, this combination of hoarseness, palsied hands, bad memory, and altered speech and bearing must represent some disturbance or malady of genuine gravity, which, no doubt, formed the basis of the prevailing odd rumours. And after their departure, the party of officials decided that a talk with the senior Ward was imperative. Maybe I overdone that there. Decided that a talk with the senior Ward was imperative. Break in this chapter. So on the 6th of March, 1928, there was a long and serious conference in Mr. Ward's office, after which the utterly bewildered father summoned Dr. Willett in a kind of helpless resignation. Willett looked over the strained and awkward signatures of the cheques, and compared them in his mind with the penmanship of that last frantic note. Certainly, the change was radical and profound, and yet there was something damnably familiar about the new writing. It had crabbed and archaic tendencies of a very curious sort, and seemed to result from a type of stroke utterly different from that which the youth had always used. It was strange, but where had he seen it before? On the whole, it was obvious that Charles was insane. I don't know how he can say he's insane with his signature. I know I'm just exaggerating, but it sounds as if he's saying Ward is insane because of a change in his signature, calligraphy. That means I'm insane, because recently I had an issue with an official document. The governing body, let's say, said that it wasn't me, and I hadn't signed it, this official piece of documentation. What was it? I can't even remember. We're probably better off. Anyway, it did happen, because I signed my name in a different way. I think I'm Jonathan Dunne. My middle name is William, and I think I signed it J.W. Dunne instead of Jonathan W. Dunne. What was it? Oh, it's annoying me now. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. I've just remembered something else while I'm trying to think of something else. In one of the previous Behind the Screams, I was speaking about cassette tape, a series of stories, cassette tapes I used to listen to when I was a kid at night. I think those tapes might have come with cereal. I'm not sure. I can't remember too well. But it was called The Storyteller. The Storyteller 1, The Storyteller 2, The Storyteller 3, and they are available on YouTube. I found Little Joe and the Sea Dragon. After I recorded that video for this, I checked and it was there, Little Joe and the Sea Dragon. I really enjoyed those stories. Let's continue. It was strange, but where had he seen it before? On the whole, it was obvious that Charles was insane. Of that there could be no doubt. And since it appeared unlikely that he could handle his property or continue to deal with the outside world much longer, something must quickly be done toward his oversight and possible cure. It was then that the alienists were called in. Doctors Peck and Waite of Providence, and Dr. Lyman of Boston, to whom Mr. Ward and Dr. Willett gave the most exhaustive possible history of the case, and who conferred at length in the now unused library of their young patient, examining what books and papers of his were left in order to gain some further notion of his habitual mental cast. After scanning this material and examining the meaningless note to Willett, they all agreed that Charles Ward's studies had been enough to unseat, or at least to warp, any ordinary intellect, and wished most heartily that they could see his more intimate volumes and documents. But this latter they knew they could do, if at all, only after a scene at the bungalow itself. Willett now reviewed the whole case with febrile energy, it being at this time that he obtained the statements of the workmen who had seen Charles find the Corwin documents, and that he collated the incidents of the destroyed newspaper items, looking up the latter at the Journal office. On Thursday, the 8th of March, Doctors Willett, Peck, Lyman, and Waite, accompanied by Mr. Ward, paid the youth their momentous call, making no concealment of their object and questioning the now acknowledged patient with extreme minuteness. Charles, though he was ordinately long in answering the summons, and was still redolent of strange and noxious laboratory odours, when he did finally make his agitated appearance, proved a far from recalcitrant subject, and admitted freely that his memory and balance had suffered somewhat from close application to abstruse studies. He offered no resistance when his removal to other quarters was insisted upon, and seemed, indeed, to display a high degree of intelligence, as apart from mere memory. His conduct would have sent his interviewers away in bafflement, had not the persistently archaic trend of his speech and the unmistakable replacement of modern by... This is a long sentence. And the unmistakable replacement of modern by ancient ideas in his consciousness marked him out as one definitely removed from the normal. Of his work he would say no more to the group of doctors than he had formerly said to his family and to Dr. Willett, and his frantic note of the previous month he dismissed as mere nerves and hysteria. He insisted that the shadowy bungalow possessed no library or laboratory beyond the visible ones, and waxed abstruse in explaining the Inexp- and waxed. My MacBook is overheating right now, and so am I. We'll finish this sentence and we go. And waxed abstruse in explaining the absence from the house of such odours as now saturated all his clothing. That's it. I think we have another 20 minutes, but I'm not sure you can hear that, but my MacBook is overheating right now, as I am. So we're going to leave it there for today, and we will continue tomorrow morning. Sorry, I have to look at the camera. And we will continue tomorrow morning and finish the chapter 4. And then we have one more chapter left to do, or section 4, and then one more section. Section or chapter, I'm not sure which it is, but you get the picture. So during the summer, now, I mean, in Spain, it's mid-30s. Right now it's 35 or 6 degrees. Let's just check. Hey Google, what is 36 degrees in Fahrenheit? It's 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And you can probably add on another 20 to this sauna where I am right now. So from here on in, narrations will be early morning here in the cabin, perfect temperature, because after 12 o'clock it begins to heat up here a lot. So I'm going to try to organize the narrations around that summer timetable, let's just say. That's it. Okay, we continue tomorrow. It's Saturday, so have a good weekend. By the time you see this, it will be Sunday evening, probably Sunday night. All going well. I have a few things to do, but I'm hoping tomorrow night, Sunday night, it will be live. So, over and out.